It's Homebrew Kitchen time, boys, and we've been cooking up a big old spell for today. Welcome to the series where I make a homebrew thing, and I've already done the homebrew thing again, but I'm gonna go through generally some of the stuff that I did, why I did it, and why you should do it too. Today is going to be a big old spell that I've made that is pretty cool in my opinion. It is a kind of copy over for another one that I've, messed around with, tweaked around with some of the mechanics that it offers. I think it's really interesting. So, the spell that I have made is called Rotting Touch. It is... I'd like you to guess what school of magic it's from. You guessed wrong. Abjuration. No, it's necromancy. We all knew it was necromancy. Rotting Touch, you gotta be kidding me. It's a 4th level spell, which is fun, you know. I feel like 4th level spells are not heavily explored. And it as it says in the name, you also gotta touch someone to do it. Now, this spell functions somewhat similarly to the 5th level spell of the same general mechanics, Contagion, where you basically touch someone and then they're poisoned. It basically gives them a big old curse, you know? And it starts off pretty lame, but it's more situational. It's more situational, and if you properly get it to work, holy shit, is it the most amazing thing. So, my kind of thought process for this was that Contagion's cool. Why not give that to a wizard, which is what I did. The people who can cast this spell are clerics, druids, and wizards, to my memory. So, Contagion's general mechanics are you touch someone. If you hit with your melee spell attack, they're poisoned. Then you move on to Poison Roulette. They make a bunch of con saves. If they succeed 3 of them, they are no longer poisoned. And if they fail 3 of them, they're also no longer poisoned. But they are given a big old disease, which is cool. So that's the general concept around Contagion that I think is really interesting, that doesn't get used much. I kind of looked into it and I thought maybe I'll make each one a bit situational, but I'll make several so that there's a lot of options depending on what you're fighting, so that this spell can kind of be universally useful for like a big bad that's really annoying you, or someone that's about to leave or something. Like a big bad evil guy who intends to retreat, so you just cast Rotting Touch on them and then they leave. And then it's like, oh, well, we'll see what happens here. So basically, once the disease is there, you can remove it like a normal disease, etc, etc. I also added an interesting mechanic that I think gives it more of an edge in comparison to Contagion in terms of its utility. When you cast it, you can make a solid surface of 1 foot in each dimension rot and have it set up as kind of a trap, where if someone touches it, the effect used takes hold as if the spell attack had hit, basically. So you can set it up as a somewhat obvious trap that a player might bite on, or an enemy might bite on or something, and you poke it and oh, now you're poisoned. Party members might have ways to get rid of poison, but honestly not all parties consider it, which is an interesting factor. I definitely have before, but some party members don't realise how lethal poison can be, especially in the early game. Putting this at like 3rd or 4th level on your party as like an enemy to have this spell and put it as like a trap or something could really teach them a lot, and I think that's really interesting. I wanted to go over each of the diseases that you can give them after the disease takes hold, failing 3 saves after it's up. So the first one is Gazing Paranoia, where basically they get really scared and they get disadvantage on charisma checks and saves, and they're also slower because they're like, ooh, ooh, and they're not exactly going to be that good at negotiating or using their guile and power of person when they feel like something's staring at them, if you know what I mean. This can be really good for a, charisma spellcaster. It doesn't affect attack rolls, which is the main thing. But if you have like another party member who really wants to get, I don't know, banishment to work, boom, there you go. Now they have disadvantage on that, etc, etc. Since the duration is a day, maybe you could do that to like a bad guy that has a big announcement to do tomorrow or something. I don't know, get creative with it. The base movement speed reduction is probably the biggest thing. Hand-eye destruction is the second one. Like hand-eye coordination, but not. Where it fucks their depth perception and they're blinded 30 feet from themselves. They have normal vision around them, but then from there, it's gone. This absolutely royally fucks over a ranged attacker. It's fine for like a melee guy or whatever, that's alright. But that absolutely destroys a ranged attack person. It can really mess with spellcasters and stuff like that. But it still gives them room to work with. That vision that they still have allows the person being affected to plan creatively around it, whether it be the DM or a player. Next one is Restless Mind, where they get disadvantage on intelligence ability checks because they're so and they also can't get hit points for short or long rests. Since the spell only lasts a day, it will pretty much only affect one long rest, but like, imagine casting this before a bad guy leaves and you know where they're leaving to and they can't really go anywhere else. You're going to catch up to them. They haven't healed any hit points because you killed their healer ally, and they don't have anything back, and you just spend a round and fucking murder them because of Rotting Touch, dude. That sort of stuff. That's important. And finally, Withering Corruption, where they get disadvantage on con saves and ability checks, and they cannot magically restore hit points, like if someone cure wounds them. This is kind of the opposite of Restless Mind in terms that it messes with your body instead, and your susceptibility to heal and stuff. Being unable to be healed by magic is definitely a big fuck over. They could still get hit dice and slap those on a long rest, but then in the middle of a fight, they're absolutely screwed unless they're like a fighter with second wind or like, I don't know, what constantly heals? Not much. Not much at all. So yeah, I think that Rotting Touch will definitely put you in a lot of checkmate scenarios if it's been casted on you. But there's plenty of ways to plan around it, but they're a challenge and they're luck-based. That's definitely something that I think should be a key factor of a spell that isn't just an area of effect damage or single target damage. You really want to consider that sort of element when you're going into it. Like, everything should have a fail-safe unless it's like an 8th or 9th level spell. And it just helps both players and DMs constantly have the back and forth encounter design that makes D&D a lot more tense than it is. Having a spell almost always work is, you know, not really going to fly. Having something that is likely to work, I think, is the best, honestly. It's the reason that save DCs are kind of high, and it's the reason that more often than not, your attack bonus is going to hit the AC, etc., etc., because then it allows things to happen, etc., etc. And I think that Rotting Touch definitely helps with that. And yeah. If you want access to this, the link will hopefully be in the description for the D&D Beyond spell, so you can add it to a character. Just make sure that you ask your DM, or if you're a DM, you can add it to your thing, your collection, and you can put it in your games and stuff like that. Whenever I make something on D&D Beyond, I'm going to try and give it to you guys so that you can use it. And I think if it isn't in the description for some reason, I bloody hope it is, you can just search out Rotting Touch in the Homebrew section and it should come up because it's public. I hope. In any case, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this little bit of advice, it was mostly just me going over it, but I tried to sprinkle in some of my own input. Do this, and then you also need to do this down below, and then also you need to do this to the red button. That would really help me out. We have a Discord as well that you can join, which is also in the description. We talk a lot about stuff. Maybe you can talk about the homebrew that we did today. Oh, might even like do a cool thing where I like put the homebrew thing in a day before it comes out on a video or something, so that you get first grabs. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon. Bye! D&D's great because it gives you the illusion of almost dying constantly, but then you don't, so you feel like a badass because then you kill people. I forgot what I was on about. No way, it doesn't say that anywhere. I'm making up stuff. Yeah, it's I just said it's 4 times in a row. It's Jesus, I'm finding it hard to talk today.